Exactly 2 years earlier, in September 2022, the government launched the Pan India operations of its Open Network for Digital Commerce, or ONDC. Now, what is ONDC? Conceptualized in December 2020 and announced in February 2021, it's a commerce network that is based on open protocol. It's supposed to enable local commerce across segments such as mobility, grocery, food order and delivery, hotel booking and travel, amongst others. And what has been its objective? Well, to democratize e-commerce, to empower small businesses and local entrepreneurs, and most critically, to reduce the dominance of the biggies in this space such as Amazon and Flipkart. India's e-commerce market is projected to reach $150 billion by 2026, with the likes of the aforementioned Amazon, Flipkart and Reliance dominating this landscape. But this growth has come at a cost of small businesses and local retailers who struggle to compete with the deep pockets and vast resources of these giants. Something that India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has been repeating very often in the last few months. Interestingly, Amazon and Flipkart are both facing antitrust probes as we speak, because of allegedly giving preference to some sellers through discounts and prominent listings. Now, ONDC aims to change this narrative by creating, like I said, an open, interoperable network that allows any business to participate and integrate with the platform. It's of course a bold vision, and over the last 2 years, it has garnered significant attention and support from industry stakeholders. So what are ONDC's latest milestones? In 18 months, as of August 2024, it crossed 100 million transactions. What else? A lot of companies such as Paytm, Ola, PhonePe, Snapdeal, MagicPin and ShipRocket have boarded the platform. In fact, I spoke about democratizing e-commerce. A Google-backed ride-hailing app called Namma Yatri has crossed 100 million in driver earnings and 50 million trips on the platform, giving it the opportunity to become a formidable rival to Ola and Uber. But how effective has ONDC been in achieving its goals? Has it truly created a level playing field for SMEs? What are the challenges it faces in terms of scale and supply? Most critically, what kind of progress has it made in posing a significant challenge to the big boys of e-commerce? Let's try and find out. It's Tuesday, the 17th of September. I'm your host Anirban Chowdhury, and this is the Morning Brief. First up, my colleague, one of ET's tech experts who has extensively reported on ONDC, Suraksha P. Why don't we start by you giving me a status report? What I've got so far is, 10 million transactions in June, 12 million orders in July. It now covers 236 cities. It has a network of, 650,000 vendors. What else?
So, Anirban, the network is doing very well in terms of the number of transactions. As far as August is concerned, the network did about 1.26 crore orders. This is as per our sources at ONDC. And I'm looking at their live dashboard right now, and it says that the total network orders till August of 2024 are a whopping 10 crore 5 lakh 19,084 orders. Now, generally, the trend was mobility orders more than retail orders, but now the trend has been reversed. There are more retail orders than mobility orders. Now, as far as retail is concerned, from April this year, that is the start of the financial year, to August, the total retail orders have been 2 crore 54 lakh 87,412. Now, these orders were made from about 806 districts in India, and around 2,42,475 sellers were involved in these orders. Now, among all the states in the country, Karnataka has recorded the highest order count, followed by Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. Also, the top 3 states with the highest number of registered sellers are Maharashtra, Delhi, and Karnataka.
Suraksha, you had reported on estimates such as, the fact that ONDC has the potential an $80 billion opportunity for startups and generate $250 billion in gross merchandise value. Have those numbers been achieved?
So, yes, Anirban, I had reported that as per an Antler report, ONDC will unleash about $80 billion opportunity for startups in India. And as per a Redseer report, it will generate about 250 billion to 300 billion in gross merchandise value. Now, unfortunately, the problem is while we know the number of transactions done on the network, the merchandise value of these orders that hasn't been revealed by ONDC. So it is difficult to say how much GMV these orders have generated so far. Now, as far as opportunity for startups are concerned, in May this year, there was this initiative called Build for Bharat. It gave away up to $250,000 in Antler India equity funding, and it gave away about $100,000 Google Cloud credits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these were given to teams that came up with solutions that were innovative to solve complex business problems in the e-commerce landscape. For example, there was this category called Next Gen Ventures, where all it aimed at was at accelerating venture creation on ONDC. Now, this was specifically for early stage and aspiring founders. If I remember correctly, there were 6 teams that won this category, and they secured about non-equity grants of up to $40,000. And there were these teams that also received Google Cloud credits, where they had an opportunity to be inducted into the Antler India residency program. So they got an equity funding of up to $250,000. So this is the kind of opportunity that startups have got on ONDC.
Understood. Understood. And what about the core motto, the aim that it was launched with, that of democratizing e-commerce in India? How far has it achieved that goal?
Yes, that was its core motto, and I think it is doing that to a large extent, in my opinion. So a number of sellers are already on board ONDC, right? They're like more than 2 crore, about 2 crore 54 lakh odd sellers. Now, most of them are neighborhood mom and pop stores who
Mhm.
have never digitized their catalog. These include traditional artisans, farmers. They never thought of selling on a e-commerce giant's website. So when they onboarded this network, and without the hefty onboarding fees that is typically associated with e-commerce giants, it opened a new selling channel for them.
Also, when you talk about reaching, businesses that have never been on any digital channel, how did ONDC create awareness among them? You spoke about this whole, interactive sessions with startups, etc. But what about these smaller, kirana stores and mom and pop stores? How did ONDC sort of make them aware that this is a channel that they should be part of, or they should onboard themselves onto?
One, there are several seller apps on ONDC whose primary job is to provide this, seller facing interface for them to onboard to the network. So I believe a lot of the outreach and the education part of it, of hand holding them, teaching them how to digitize their catalog, etc., is done by the seller apps. And ONDC itself does a lot of these outreach programs with farmer producer organizations, with seed organizations, with rural artisans in the interior tier 2, tier 3 cities of India, in villages. And as far as educating people about a network like ONDC is concerned, there are discounts offered by the network and by various players on the network itself. So when you do a comparison between how much that product costs on ONDC versus other networks like a food aggregator, then you see a difference in cost. So I think that initial push is given to the customer to shop on ONDC instead of other popular food aggregators or other e-commerce websites.
One of ONDC's USPs was supposed to be its open network approach. Has that USP really played out well? Has that helped it?
Yes, it has. So when you talk about competing with e-commerce players, as far as food and beverage category is concerned, we all know the two majors are Swiggy and Zomato.
Right.
Basically, an internal analysis of the network showed that it had cornered about 3% of their food order volumes,
Hmm.
meaning Swiggy and Zomato's. Now, this is as per our sources. So the analysis said that ONDC now facilitates about 60,000 orders per day in the food domain. And that means it's capturing about 3% of the total order volumes of managed by Swiggy and Zomato across India individually. So they received about 20 lakh orders each, is what their analysis had said. As far as Amazon and Flipkart are concerned, we had reported this in two separate stories that the government had asked both the giants to host ONDC storefront on its home pages. And in June, we had also reported that Flipkart may soon be foraying into the food and beverage category on ONDC. Now, as we all know, we can't shop for food on Flipkart. So I think that is the one category that they were looking to explore via ONDC.
Understood. Suraksha, let's talk about challenges now. You've written about constraints in its supplier base and other issues that it will have to grapple with. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Right. So the challenges that ONDC did not expect are that when an entrant is new to e-commerce, to the world of e-commerce, he needs support to start operations. We had spoken to our sources at Pi Platforms, which was earlier Paytm e-commerce, of course. Now, it is both a buyer app and a seller app on ONDC. Now, they had told us that the primary challenge faced by the network is enhancing its supplier base. So, what they say is that many players who are found on like a Swiggy or a Zomato or an Amazon are not participating on ONDC yet. And there could be several reasons for this. So, you have to incorporate more significant players, more players who have more extensive reach that can benefit the network. And another pertinent point that the co-founder of Seller App, Mr. Dilip Vamanan, had made is that now this is one of the earliest seller apps to be onboarded to ONDC. So he's aware of how the network started and how it evolved over time. He said the $1 million question of being on ONDC is how do you generate a business out of it? Because e-commerce is an operation heavy business. How do you make a business out of it and how do you become profitable? Now, out of the average order value, there's a 1% commission. So let's say you have about 50,000 orders per month. That is not enough to cover the cost of even one or two developers that he's hired. So from running day-to-day operations, one has to look at external funding as well. He also said that there are issues of settlement that needs to be resolved on the network. So these are all the toothing issues that ONDC has, and hopefully something that they aim to resolve soon.
In terms of network and geographical reach, ONDC has really grown. Initially led by mobility services, retail orders now dominate its network. The platform has managed to onboard a large number of small-time sellers, most of whom are encouraged by the fact that they do not have to pay hefty onboarding fees. So, ONDC has made progress on that part of its aim. But what about the other part? To unseat the big boys of e-commerce. Sure, it has made a tiny dent into the businesses of Swiggy and Zomato, but is that enough? And what about the supply chain and cost issues? Suraksha posed all these questions to the only man who can be expected to have their answers. T. Koshy, CEO, ONDC. Here's their conversation.
So I hear that congratulations are in order right from the beta pilot in Bangalore in September of 2022. ONDC has crossed some new milestones, I hear. Is that right?
That's true. In October 22, we just made it open in Bangalore. And in January 23 is when we started publicizing big way. And when we had something like 1,200 transactions the whole of January with 500 merchants, we have now reached 12.5 million in August. And I believe that in September, we may see about 13 plus million transactions. And overall, from the very beginning, Suraksha, you had been closely monitoring from the few hundred transactions. Now we have crossed 100 million transactions totally as of 2 days ago.
Can you tell us a little bit about where these transactions are coming from, sir, from retail or from mobility or, other sectors and domains on ONDC?
Okay, I'll just give you the way it's sort of proceeded in the last 1.5 years plus. As you know, that we started with grocery and food and then mobility. And the one that picked up initially big time volume was mobility. In fact, of the total transaction, about 90% used to be in mobility, and that was coming from single enterprises. And then that has now come down to about 35, 33%. Although the average, the total volume has significantly increased. One that picked up big time to begin with was food, which was also about 90% of the non-mobility sector. Now it is about 20, 21%. Not that the food volume has come down. Food volume has significantly grown and has, in fact, in Bangalore, we have very decent market shares. And one of the very interesting segment that is picked up pretty well, and it is helping the overall network, is logistics as a service, where it is being made available to in the network as a service which can be used by the participants who are there in the network, as well as people who just want to buy logistics as a service. So these are all complementing. Like I used to say, Suraksha, the whole idea of a network is the various building blocks will be introduced by various entities, and the common protocol help them to stitch together. And that's the kind of things that we are shaping.
When the government set up ONDC, it wanted to break the stranglehold of duopolies like Amazon and Walmart, and now we see that the CCI in India has found that both the giants have violated local competition laws by giving preference to select sellers on their shopping websites. So, can you tell our listeners why something like that won't happen on ONDC?
In any platform-centric model, whether it is in India or in abroad, when the platform-centric model work as walled gardens using proprietary protocol, it means that the sellers in one platform are visible only to the buyers in that platform. And if a seller wants to be visible in multiple platforms, he will have to do a digital, physical, procedural, and legal integration, which would mean that the possibilities of one entity being there in multiple platforms is practically limited. And on the reverse side of it, few platforms will become dominant in any domain. Whereas in an ONDC world, that's not how it is. Let's look at the sell side and the buy side, because ONDC allow these things to be unbundled and stitched together using the open protocol. So what we are going to see is that there are going to be different buying applications which will come and help their buyers to buy whatever that is relevant. So when I say buying application, they can focus only the interest of the buyers, because they don't have to go and stitch up, or they don't have to go and integrate with any seller, because sellers will all be available in the network. So it should mean that there cannot be a situation where one or two enterprises will have a stranglehold. Any enterprise on the sell side will grow only if it is providing meaningful service to the sellers and being reasonable in their service fees, because otherwise somebody else can come, and switching across platforms will not be a difficult situation as against a situation in a platform where it is using proprietary protocol. So all these things together will create a common pool of sellers on one side using ONDC protocol, and the variety of buying application, all of them having visibility to all the sellers. It is their choice to see that for their clients, what do they want to show.
So moving on to onboarding fee, sir. So one of the things that sellers have to do is pay an onboarding fee when they, have to go live on e-commerce giants. So on ONDC, will there be onboarding fee? Is it there currently? Do you plan to have it in the short term, anywhere in the future?
ONDC is, as you know, it's a Section 8 company. Our idea is not profit maximization, but we want to make it a self-sustaining entity. Sometime in the coming years, we would have some very moderate charges for real transaction, for real value addition that is happening. Whereas on the seller side, based on the complexity and sophistication of the seller, some of the seller aggregators have their own charges. Some of them do ad valorem. Some of them do just subscription, because the extent of service that the enterprise needs. Sometimes they just need a software as a service. In that case, it could be a subscription. Some cases, some of the seller aggregators provide a significant amount of operation and CRM support to the sellers. Then case they might be having charges.
So you also recently launched something called Sarthi, which I believe is to assist businesses in creating buyer-side apps. So can you tell us a little bit about this Sarthi and its connection with tier 2 cities?
See, there are two things that we've launched. One is, as an idea, ONDC is something very new. A lot of people don't even know. Okay. So what we have done is that we have created an application that works like a buyer application, which is made available to public at large to sort of figure out how the whole transactions happens in NDC. And we also did an integration with Pashni to show the language lineup. And that's also being made available for any enterprises to sort of build on it. Second thing that we launched is just now available in the Play Store and both for iPhone as well as Android. It's a simple application, a shopping assistant, which can be used by any buyers, anybody who's interested in how to shop in ONDC, and figure out for various segments and domains which are the buying applications available. So you would see that you want to buy grocery, go and press on grocery. It will show you that Paytm is there, Optipa is there, and Kojale is there. And then if you click on the one that you choose, it will take you straight to the transaction application. So it is also a way for people to figure out how to shop in the ONDC network. These are the two things that we recently launched.
So can you talk a little bit about the challenges that the network is facing, sir, in terms of, expanding its seller base, or, businesses on ONDC say that, generating a profit is still a challenge. So what are the kind of challenges that you see in the network growth and expansion?
Okay, let's take one side. Let's take each side. One on the seller side. So we need to significantly expand the merchant base or service providers on the network. When I said 2 years ago, we had 500 of them, and today it is almost 7 lakh, and we are expecting that to grow more and more. But as we have more and more enterprises joining, we need to provide significant amount of hand-holding support. See, I sort of break it down to two kinds of people. One is digitally mature and sophisticated enterprises. They need to only, large and medium enterprises come in that segment. They'll need to make certain amount of protocol adoption, which is, some people jump in and start doing first, and some people take a little time. But we can see significant traction. Few lakhs of enterprises are already in the various stages of integration. If you really look at the total percentage of the merchants in the economy, such enterprises are relatively small in their from a number point of view, although their activity will be much higher. So at the same time, our objective is to get a lot more of enterprises to be comfortably there in the digital space as they do in the physical markets too. Like, for example, probably you would have seen already Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises have come out with a scheme to help the MSMEs to leverage the ONDC network. It's just being rolled out. Similarly, Vishwakarma scheme is sort of looking at the way to sort of leverage the ONDC network. You saw SFAC doing the same thing. We saw the Fisheries Department doing the same things. But eventually, this effort will start giving benefit in the next couple of years, where their participation is going to be significantly higher. As you know, that currently the seller base participating in the digital commerce is maybe 3-4%, and I believe there is significant potential to happen. So it is going to be, the way I will consider this is like a movement of transformation of commerce. And this movement is something more challenging because this has never been done anywhere in the world.
So, true democratization of e-commerce should have happened yesterday, and hence an open source, transparent and inclusive network like ONDC seems like the need of the hour. At the same time, the fact that the government had to step in and set up a platform for democratizing e-commerce years after it let Amazon and its ilk set up shop in India and grow exponentially, well, doesn't sound like the perfect example of effective public policy, does it now? On the other hand, has ONDC truly made a dent on the e-com biggies businesses? Absolutely not yet. Will it? Well, given the government's crackdown on the other e-com biggies, best to say, let's watch this space. You were listening to this episode on The Morning Brief. It was produced by Vinay Joshi and sound designed by Amrit Reggie. A new episode of TMB drops every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. Wherever you get your podcasts, keep listening.